Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Hope you've had a chance to refresh after a brilliant session this morning. If you're just joining us for this session now, don't worry, you can still catch this morning's session and all of today's sessions, actually, because they're all recorded for your viewing pleasure. So you can catch up with anything you may have missed or share them with others. We'll be sharing the links for them in all the usual places, but on the Retail Bulletin website, LinkedIn, etc. You'll be able to find those recordings dropping later as well. I'm going to talk to you about the session shortly. This is a Wire Digital First e-commerce strategy session, but I also would like to take a moment to shamelessly plug the remaining calendar for the Retail Bulletin this year. So this is our last event for a couple of months. We take a summer recess, and then we come back with a bang in September. So we have a live event in the daytime on September the 21st in central London. That's our Retail HR conference. That's an in-person rubbing shoulders event with real peoples, no virtual stuff going on there. And then on the same day, September 21st, we go straight into an evening. We're super excited. It's the People in Retail Awards. The awards have now closed. Nominations have now closed. And these awards are all about putting the true heroes front and center, frontline retail colleagues at the heart of some spotlight and some praise, and giving them well-deserved recognition and award as well. We have got a couple of tables left. As I said, the actual entries are closed, but there's still a couple of tables left, and that's in central London. Get your black ties and your best togs on, and look forward to the People in Retail Awards on September the 21st. We then have another in-person conference on November the 14th in central London, and then we have a wrap to our year in early December, talking about customer experience. That's virtual, and that will be on December the 6th. So quite a lot still to come from the Retail Bulletin this year. But yeah, this is our last event for a couple of months as we take a bit of a summer recess and enjoy some more of this weather, I hope. I was asking our audience this morning, are you a lover or a hater? A bit like Marmite. Some people absolutely love the weather and they just want to stay in it forever. And some people I know are saying, please make it stop already, basically. So it's always that British obsession, isn't it, of talking about the weather. Some are loving it, some are hating it. I'm definitely in the love category. I could definitely live in this permanently. So let us know what you are in the chat function. I'm going to ask our audience to mention who they are now, and I'll stop talking eventually, and we'll hear their voices more. And then I'll remind you before we start the session proper how you can get involved as well. So firstly, over to you, please, Frederick. Fred, how are you doing?
Yeah, good. Thank you. Thanks, Darren. And hello, everyone. And great to be with you all. So quick introduction. I'm Fred Frisrin. I've been working in the IT industry for over 20 years, and I've spent the last 14 working in payments at Ingenico Group and now Worldline. So currently manage a team of pre-sales consultants. And our job is to work with large retail merchants to identify their needs, their requirements, design solutions, and develop technical proposals.
Great to have you back with us, and we're big fans of Worldline at the Retail Bulletin, as you know, so thank you for your continued support as well. It's always appreciated, and thanks for giving up your own time as well to be with us this morning. Rob, over to you, sir. Who are you?
Hi, I'm Rob. Rob Savin. I'm the marketing director at Alpkit. We're a direct-to-consumer clothing and equipment brand for that kind of outdoor enthusiasts. Great for this sort of weather. Get outside, do stuff, get it from Alpkit, that sort of thing. Anything you're doing, we do. And we've grown enormously over the last 4 years, from kind of 9 million to 18, just over 18 million, which has been lovely, lovely. Lots of transformation in that time. Before that, I was looking after huge kind of transformation projects by comparison at places like Co-op, Yorkshire Building Society, Leeds Building Society, big kind of financial services transformation. So lots of experience, big and smaller, in terms of the digital work I've been doing.
Welcome, sir. Yeah, it's certainly the weather for getting out there as well. So yeah. I'm assuming you're a lover in that sense. It's a positive impact on your business as well.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Excellent. Already people are putting love in the chat function so far as well. So good to see. Michael, how about you, sir? Tell us about you.
Yeah, sure. Hi, I'm Michael. I've got a background in software engineering and technical leadership. I spent the last 3 years at MattressOnline as head of digital, and my role's been to accelerate our growth by driving our digital strategy forward. And that's everything from top of funnel acquisition all the way through to on-site conversion and delivery systems for our slightly niche industry of mattresses, where everything's a little bit different to standard e-commerce.
Absolutely. I look forward to unpacking that bit with you later as well, because it's an interesting purchase to make online. So we'll talk some more, but thank you for giving up your time to be with us as well. And Gracia, last but not least, over to you. Who are you?
Hi, good morning, everyone. And I love the weather. My name is Gracia, and and I work for a variety of businesses as their non-executive director or their chair. And having those roles means very much that strategy is always at the top of the agenda. And within that strategy, it's interesting that digital is the main focus in most of those roles as well. So that's where my focus is mainly as well. And my background is very much B2C, e-commerce, retail, from Topshop, Topman to Burberry to Hobbs to CEO of a pet company. So very varied. Yeah, and I hope I can contribute properly to this session today. Thank you for having me.
I've got no doubt you will. And yeah, very varied, and you're very welcome as well. So thanks for being here. So quick word about me. I'm Darren. You probably know me from some of these events. If you're a regular TRB watcher, and I sometimes pop up at the lives as well. I'm the global head of leasing for Impress. Impress is Europe's leading orthodontics brand, headquartered in Barcelona. We have rolled out extensively over the last couple of years, particularly, and operate flagships now in 8 countries. In the UK, for example, we are already at double digits from a standing start only 2 years ago, and really playing our part, I think, in that interesting evolution of the high street. So many of our clinics are ex-retail spaces, and so that medical retail, medtail, as it's being called in the US, I learned on a trip recently, is really very much a growing sector. But amongst that and other things, I pop up and do some of these events for Karen and the wonderful Retail Bulletin team, and I love to do so. I did get a question this morning, actually, about my co-presenter. So if you're a regular, you know that my dog sometimes comes and sits alongside me and attempts to co-present. Sorry to disappoint anyone that's a fan of Scamp. She's at daycare today. So she's having a ball, but you won't get to see her today. Right? So there'll be no four-legged interruptions my end today, but your four-legged interruptions and kids, etc., all very welcome. Bring it in on this virtual world, all fine. Last but not least, a reminder, questions are everything. We're open to them. Our panel are ready for them. I'll moderate them, so anything you ask will be answered. We make that 100% guarantee to you. So use your Q&A button, wherever that is on your device, and we'll answer your questions. Let's kick off. I've spoken enough. Fred, I'm going to start with you, if I may, sir. Kick things off for us. Talking about payment data, how can merchants securely use payment data to assist in building a digital strategy?
Yeah, so I guess we know that digital payment systems nowadays are much more enhanced than they were, let's say, 10, 15 years ago. And we witness that, on a daily basis. But so too is data regulation. And I think we all remember the introduction of GDPR and the impact it had on businesses and consumers. So if you're using a vast amount of payment-related data to build a digital strategy, then it's important that the data is secure and it is also managed in a compliant way to avoid potentially catastrophic data leaks and also unnecessary chargebacks and refunds, to avoid the loss of revenue. So one way of addressing security issues is to use a technology called tokenization, which enables consumers to save their card details with a merchant for use at a later stage. So that means that in future, anytime a consumer wants to make a purchase, their payment credentials will be stored already, and the checkout process will be much easier and smoother. So the process often starts with the customer registering his card details online on a website, clicking the Remember Me option or button. The raw data is then stored on secure servers, and in return for the card detail, a token is generated and sent to the merchant. The merchant then links the token to the customer's profile so that when it comes to the next purchase, the customer doesn't need to enter their card details again. So yeah, tokenization is really key to make sure that your data is secure and effectively replaces sensitive data, which is your card, with a unique token that's not considered sensitive by the likes of PCI, for instance.
Got it. And Fred, if people wanted to find out more about tokenization, how could they do so?
They can come to us and we can talk to them about tokenization. There's a lot of information online. There's actually a standard for tokenization written by the PCI DSS organization. So there's a lot of information out there, and yeah, all welcome to come to us and we can talk to them about the benefits of tokenization and what it brings to a merchant.
Perfect. Okay, thanks. So audience, if you're listening, you can probably reach out to Fred on LinkedIn, or you can certainly use TRB as the conductor of comms, and we will put you in touch with Fred as well. So thanks for that, Fred. Great opener. Take a sip of something cool, and we'll come back to you shortly as well. Rob, I'm going to come back over to you, if I may. I don't know whether you had a chance to see this morning's session before, but we talked about how agile and responsive retail can be, actually, and it was a big subject that we unpacked. And if you think of those terms, agility and responsiveness, how do you then balance the pace of digital transformation whilst kind of protecting the all-important customer experience?
Yeah, it's funny that I would have loved to have seen that session this morning, because sometimes I think when you see the pace of digital change out in the world, I don't know if you can picture this, but sometimes at the beginning of like a triathlon or something, you see everyone swimming, and there's this like enormous mass of people swimming across the waters, water splashing all over the place. And it's like there's a complete charge going across this water or the lake, same in like Olympic swimming in a swimming pool. And you can think, like, that is a lot. That the pace is frenetic. But if you focus on one swimmer, just one swimmer, then suddenly everything looks a bit calmer, and you think, actually, oh, I can do that. I can go that fast. That's okay. I can see what they're doing. So there's this point where the pace seems so fast, but actually you kind of take it down a bit, and it is something that you can compete with. And when you think like that, there's kind of a more rational set of things I go through. So for me, there's, when I'm looking at sort of projects at Alpkit, I try to remove all reasons for delay. We are great as human beings at finding reasons to kind of put off going live. So we might need to get sign off from someone who, oh, maybe we should have spoken to them. We need to put this in front of them, or we might want to put new features into a digital product that we want to put live. And these are all become reasons to slow the pace down in a business. And I tend to get more worried about rather than thinking, gosh, what if it all goes wrong, to gosh, what if we don't put this live and our customers are going to go somewhere else? So I'm trying to balance off these worries of, gosh, what if we ruin the customer experience, and gosh, what if we just don't have any customers to give an experience to anyway if we don't do this stuff? So one of the things I'll do is make sure that I'm removing all reasons for going live. And actually, as a general rule, as Alpkit, we go ready just about at the R of ready. At the beginning of, like, if you're writing ready, you'd put your pen on the paper, and that's when we go. It's kind of almost before we're ready. And as a result of that, we have a great culture of kind of a wrapper around things going live, which means that the customer experience is absolutely centrally protected. And so the way that works is mainly through communication. So anybody who touches customers, so stores, customer support, etc., they know exactly what's changing in kind of the digital sphere of what's going on. It might be the returns process, website, anything like this. And they know the background to what's going on. Importantly as well, they know the feedback loop to the team, which is making a difference. So the second part of it is when we put something live, we'll have a team ready to make changes. And we always do that, because when you put something live, you realize you wanted it to be something slightly different, and you didn't realize until you put it in front of a customer. And actually you're making changes anyway. So as the customer experience becomes kind of harmed or something's not quite right, the team is right there ready to make changes kind of full time for a period of 2 weeks. So there's this lovely feedback loop that comes through. And the other thing that we get ready for is a period of manual work, which means that if anything goes wrong or we need to help customers through anything, we're all really prepared to get in there and help the customers at that point. So when we're really accepting of this, and we'll accept it for a period of time before the final working product is going for it. Now, the advantage of all this stuff, and it's kind of can be a frenetic couple of weeks, and we've described things about saying, gosh, the website's on the operating table, it's in the emergency room, come on, everyone, got to get this stuff around, is actually there's a couple of advantages. Firstly, you get really fast feedback from customers. If you want to make something really good, customer feedback is most valuable stuff, and this way of putting things live and going for it gets really, really fast feedback. The other thing is if there is an increase in customer contact, actually that's no bad thing. We find that customers who contact us end up being our best customers. Yeah. So if we're really confident in the experience we're giving customers contacting us is no bad thing at all. And this way of kind of taking away barriers for putting things live and wrapping the team around and getting the communication sorted to protect that customer experience has actually paid dividends. We've got a new website live in February 2020. Gosh, can you imagine stores closing, how important that was to have that in for March? Little did we know for March 2020 as we went into
well timed.
Yeah, really well timed.
Indeed.
If we'd have delayed, I think it would have been a different story for us. And we launched customer accounts last year, and gosh, were we ready? I'm not sure, but we've got now 40,000 happy members of Alpkit buying things from us in a really kind of slick way. So that's worked really, really nicely for us. But there is one golden rule which we'll never ever break, which is a golden rule that's existed for many, many years. Never put anything live on a Friday. That's something we'll never do. But it's communication, team ready, everyone knowing where to turn. And that's how we
got it. And that Friday tip is one I've heard before, and it's always a useful reminder indeed. So you heard it here at Retail Bulletin again today as well. Thank you for that, Rob. I'll come back to you shortly. Gracia, I'm going to come on to you if I may, and explore this data thing. The word data, wow, does that get bandied around every day or what? So what examples can you share where data is of true benefit to the customer instead of being used the other way, which is just to benefit the business?
Yeah, thank you, Darren. I think that is a really good point, because of course, if data is beneficial to the customer, then it will also be beneficial to the business, because it's just a closed loop that way. Maybe I can give an example of some of the products that we have innovated, that we have come up with at Closer Pets. We sell cat flaps and pet feeders and pet fountains. And, we came to a point where cat flaps, we would make them so that only your cat can come in and out of the house, because it reads the chip in the cat. And also the bowl will only open for your cat. So if there is another hungry cat in the household and eats all your cat's food, one cat's food, they won't be able to do it. Or sneaky cats that come into the household and try to eat your cat's food is also not possible, because it will only read your cat's chip. Now, that's all great, and it has been incredibly successful and very helpful. But we were thinking, like, what would it look like if actually you could harness that data, and then the pet owner could do something with it? For example, if you can see changes in patterns of your pets, either eating patterns or how often they go in and out of the house, but especially eating and drinking is very important to the health of pets. And so we have come up with, we call it the Internet of Things pet feeder, where we developed an app where it will mark all the moments when your pet interacts with the products that we have made. And how is that important for the client, for the customer? Well, it really is when, for example, your pet starts behaving slightly differently and it's a little bit quiet. You can look at the chip, you can look at the data on your app and see that maybe they are not drinking or eating so much anymore. So when you go to the vet, you can immediately give that feedback, and you can look at the patterns. And if they start on medication and you have to go back to the vet and you haven't been home much, so you're not really quite sure what your pet has been up to, you can again share your app with all the steps that that your pet did. So very important data, really, from a customer perspective. Now, of course, from a business perspective, that data could ultimately come in very, very helpful, because around the data we can start building maybe and talking to pet insurance companies or pet health, pet food. So it's all connected to one point, and I think it's genuinely of interest and important to the customer. So yeah, we're very happy with that, and it has been incredibly well received. And coming back to Rob's point, we do launch these products, although they take a very long time to develop. As you imagine, they're quite difficult to make, but we launch them quite early on, so that, and we know who buys them, so we can interact with those clients, those customers, if there are any things that they would like changing or not working just as well, so that we can help them in their journey. And they love giving the feedback, and to Rob's point again, is that they become one of our best customers. And in fact, we create super groups of people that love our products or that love pets and like to help everything getting better, and we keep on talking to them and learning from them and taking their feedback. So it's very important too.
Great examples. As a dog and a cat owner myself as well, you have my full attention then as well. I was listening intently. But, thank you. And I think with anything with that pet side of life is also, there's an emotive side to people's engagement as well, because their animals are just so incredibly important to them. So it's a real win by the sound of it. I'll be checking that out. Thank you, Gracia. Michael, I'm going to come to you. I'm waiting very patiently there. Thank you, sir. Head of digital at MattressOnline. So I'm guessing your in-tray is pretty busy. How do you prioritize your digital project? How do you work out what comes first?
There's a mix of things there, and I think it echoes some of the things that have been said by Rob and Gracia in particular. But for us, it starts with the strategy. So being clear on what we want to achieve over the next 5 years and the next 12 months to get us to that point, making sure that all of our teams are engaged with that strategy and they understand what we're trying to achieve, and that they have the right values and are empowered with data. So the data is the crucial thing. We have, each function of the team has its own KPIs, but they're able to measure them and monitor them, and they know which numbers they're going to improve. And they can break those numbers down through all of the data stack and see where the opportunities lie. And then the idea is to come up with a project or some tactics to execute that's going to improve that KPI and to indicate the value that that's going to drive. So is it going to be a project that improves conversion rate or continuation rate through a part of the website? Where are we targeting that? What is the improvement? What's the model of that? And that gives you a value for the project, which gives you a clear remit for prioritizing that piece of work that everyone in the business can buy into. So there is no need for an executive sponsor, somebody fighting the fight for a thing. And in fact, we go in the opposite direction of that. We had a project late last year, delivered live early this year. We originally were going to look at cross-sell. So we mainly sell mattresses. So an idea to drive the average item value up was to cross-sell at the basket, pillows and duvets and things like that. If you're refreshing your bed, do the whole thing. So we had a model for that, but another team had identified we had a continuation rate challenge in another area of the website. It was a similar scale of development, but the modeling showed it had potentially much more value. So there was no need to get sign-off or buy-in from the other bits of the business. We had a case where the value on that project was significantly more. So the team was able to greenlight itself, feedback that this is what they're working on. The justification was from the data as usual, and crack on and deliver. And we can constantly to follow an agile methodology there, so we can adapt what we're doing. We make sure we test and learn with everything. So if we're going to launch something, we don't want it to break the user journey. So we'll likely A/B test things, and we'll certainly monitor things. And the key thing is knowing what those success criteria look like. We know what we'll war game out the possible outcomes are: super positive, a positive, a neutral, and a bad. And the mantra is fail fast, fail forward, fail often. And the fast bit is knowing it's failing and stopping it and rolling it back before it's a disaster. So if we've got something we're expecting to improve the continuation rate, and we can clearly see we've tanked the continuation rate, it'll get rolled back. We'll look at it. We'll understand what our misunderstanding of the data, what our misunderstanding of the user intent was, what our learning is, and we'll fail forward from there, and we'll work out the next step to increase the continuation rate there, or understand why the continuation rate wasn't there, and maybe it is a bigger challenge and we need to move back to another project, and we'll sense and adapt. But because across the business people understand what we're trying to achieve, when we share what we're working on, it always makes sense to people. They understand what we're doing and can be part of that journey, and all pull together to deliver that across the functions of the digital team, across content and marketing, etc., and make sure that we make the most of everything that we're delivering.
And it ties in, doesn't it, to that kind of, the benefit that retailers often have of the ability to see things happening quickly, and a decision made can have an impact within a matter of hours. So, and you sounds like you guys can quickly see when it's time to row some of those decisions back and pivot as well. So thank you for sharing that with us as well. Audience, don't forget, if you have a question for these people, you are very welcome to ask it. Use the Q&A function, and I will make sure it is directed accordingly. Coming on back to you, Fred, if I may, and I'm going to revisit the tokenized bit, I think, if that's okay with you, because I'm sure our audience might have some more questions around it, or will certainly be in touch direct. But do you have a use case where a merchant has benefited from using that tokenized payment data?
Yeah, many. Tokenization is can serve multiple purposes and support different use cases. I was talking about the earlier on the example where you can use tokens to trigger additional payments, so things like one click, but also subscriptions and any form of recurring payments can be done through the token. Some of our customers and merchants also use tokenization for CRM and data analytics purposes, just to provide unique data insights, really. So for example, some of our merchants use tokens to figure out where the payment journey started and where it was completed. So very useful, especially when you have both an online and an in-store presence. Also things like trying to ascertain the percentage of online versus in-store sales. Again, you can do that in a secure fashion using the token. Tokens also used very commonly in omni-channel journeys. So for those who are not familiar with the omni-channel journeys, where a transaction starts within one channel, in store or online, and is completed within the other channel. So for instance, should a customer buy something in store, but then potentially phone the call center to make a return or want some money back, call center is able to track and refund the purchase by using the token generated during the in-store transaction. So that's another example of how it can be used. It's also used in fraud management systems. I'm sure those who own an e-com website have some level of fraud monitoring and system in place. So the token here can enable the merchant to better recognize genuine customers and potentially highlight any risks by allowing them to take or undertake customer analysis across channel. And then the last one is loyalty, very powerful in loyalty programs and rewards, basically in order to personalize and tailor the consumer experience, really. So yeah, many different use cases and widely used across online and in store.
Thanks, Fred. And a reminder, audience, if you want to get in touch with Fred to find out more, please do so. We can either connect you or you can find Fred in the usual LinkedIn type ways, I'm sure. Rob, thank you, Fred. Rob, I'm going to come to you if I may. I'm right in saying that you guys started as digital only, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And then you opened stores. So how has that affected how your digital program aligns with the overall strategy? Or has it changed anything?
Yeah, it's really interesting actually. So if you take how things are at Alpkit compared to how I've been at other more traditional organisations in the past, the digital strategy at Alpkit is completely central to how we operate. It's not a bolt-on. It's not something going back to what Michael was saying earlier on. It's not something where you have to get buy-in for anything. It is central to what we're doing. And it's kind of like you say, it's all started because in 2004 we were an online-only retailer. We're selling a small number of items, and kind of that's how we're doing it. Since then, we've opened 10 stores, and that's kind of had a profound effect on the way that we do business. But there's a few ways in which being digital first has meant that not just our digital change program, but our digital communications program and our general communications program has been usefully aligned. So I'm going to talk about three things, but I'll start with brand. So being a digital first retailer, the brand was absolutely nailed online. We had our tone sorted, we had our imagery sorted, we knew who we were and customers knew who we were. And a lot of the love that Alpkit has is around kind of who we are and the fact that we're people out doing things. And that really helped with recruitment. It really helped with the way that we portray ourselves in stores, and it helped in the way that we engage with communities. And it all started in the way that we presented ourselves online. So that's kind of the first point. And that's really nice because actually, in previous life, what you're saying is, gosh, if only we could distill what happens in the real world and get it onto a website, wouldn't that be nice? It's not a kind of a problem that we have. The second one, I'll use a specific example, is kind of in the way that the digital development has moved along across channels with the way that the business model works. So back in the day, we sold a small number of items, we'd flow the stock in as we needed, and we're quite famous in a way for selling out of the items that are really, really popular. So we have this stock flow model, and we don't want to hold more stock than we want to, it's expensive. But as you open more stores, and suddenly you've got to stock every single store. So you put your warehouse stock and your store stock. Hopefully this is making sense to people. So in order to actually maximize the impact of all that extra stock, one of the priorities was we need to make sure that when you buy an item online, it can be shipped from the shop. It can be in stock anywhere, and the experience will be the same as an online customer as if doesn't matter where the stock comes from. So we were doing lots of digital development to make sure that worked. The other thing that we did was make sure, for example, the point of sale in stores, we run on Shopify. That's Shopify too, so that everything's aligned. We know the customer when they're walking in, so it kind of really, really simplifies things for us. And then another point, so that's kind of business model. So brand, business model. Third point is international growth. So again, going back to what Michael was saying, when you think about what's important for the business, well, how are we going to be successful? We build our model out, and we know exactly what we need to change: conversion rates, visits, international traffic, all of that stuff. And we knew what problems we needed to solve internationally, locally based websites, international price points, all of that stuff. And that drove our digital program, which became central, again, to everything that we were doing. So the digital program is absolutely central. And that's really, really nice. And we're in a position now where, as we're growing up and maturing as a business, we've got this lovely feedback circle, not just from our customers, as we were talking about earlier on, and we're all saying about how useful that fast feedback is, but also back into stores. Stores now will tell us, these are the bits where people want to know about this jacket. This is what they want to know about. And so we'll then take photographs of those things so that those go on the website. So it's a lovely circle. And because people are in the habit of kind of using the website as a frame of reference, that feedback from one store then goes across all 10. It's really, really nice way of working.
Great, thanks, Rob. And it's great, you know, I'm a man and boy retailer to my boots, and it's great to see businesses that are still investing in bricks as well. So thank you for doing that, keeping the high street alive. I've always been an advocate of the high street, and I've never bought into this ideal that the high street is dead and all the doomsayers. But actually,
that's
hold
the
that thought.
Direction we're going in as well at the moment. We're working on a retail expansion.
I was just about to perfect segue. I was going to say, Michael, would you guys ever move in that direction? So
yeah,
we were beautifully aligned in our thinking there. Go for it.
It's interesting hearing what Rob said, because it echoes very much sort of our experience. We've been around since 2003, so beat you by a year, Rob. We opened the first store not long after that, because in our market we needed a physical presence for some of the manufacturers to take us seriously, as mattresses and beds are such an offline acquisition. We're now up to 3 stores. We've got a few more opening this year. So there's a strong store execution plan, and having that strong brand and understanding who you are and how you talk and how to execute does make that retail rollout easier, I think, than taking the offline company and taking them online. You see a lot of high street retailers that are trying to compete digitally who can't make that mindset shift. Having that digital heart to the business allows you to take that online business offline and into store. And that, particularly with the data side of things, you can get all of the data you can possibly eat as a digital business from your web analytics, from web monitoring, from analyzing your sales and your trends and your geography of your distribution, but you can't talk to your customers unless they reach out to you. Having the retail side, you get the opposite side of things. So Rob's saying there, people saying, oh, the thing that you haven't answered on your website is which way does the zip go, or whatever, and being able to answer those questions online, having that growing store footprint with people talking to customers and understanding more what their challenges are as people take sleep and their comfort more seriously, and they're trying to understand the market and what kind of products they need, gives us that sense. We know what products work well in the stores, and we know why they work well in the stores, and we can take that to reinforce how we sell that product online. And it gives you that interaction with consumers that you can't completely recreate online. We focus very much on real customer service, so we have online chat and we have email and we have phone, but it's all real people in Rotherham you speak to. There is no AI and there is no bot there, because you need that human touch, particularly in our sector, to be able to deal with the kind of queries you get from customers. And you need to balance that pure data-driven digital thing with being able to bring that human aspect of things. With Rob's sector, it's a passion thing. People have the enthusiasm for it. With mattresses and sleep, it's a very personal thing. Everybody has a different. Everybody wants to be comfortable, but what makes somebody comfortable, it can be radically different. So having that ability to have that softer reach out on things to reinforce your data is super valuable.
Absolutely, thank you for that. And again, good to see some investment in the bricks as well. I'm going to take it back to clicks, if I may, Gracia, with you. And in terms of, doesn't matter what the company size, but the ability to be agile regardless of size, and why the digital part of that is so critical, I think, to future customers.
Yeah, I'm thinking about an example. I mean, as being on board, you have the luxury of thinking strategically and stepping out, being above, having helicopter view, and by doing so, you have to, you can look macroeconomics, and you have to look at macroeconomics, and everyone should be, but sometimes you're just so much in the trenches that you don't really look up. But of course, we all know that it's really quite different out there, isn't it? Things have changed so much. And I must say, it's so good to listen to Rob and Michael mentioning the connection between the retailer with the consumer. I think that's fantastic, because it hasn't happened for a long time. And really listening to the people you sell to. So that's very, very important. And it's in many different industries you're actually seeing this more. I had a conversation yesterday with a building society and their strategy and what they want to do. And they want to get closer and closer to the community again. So really great. From a macroeconomic and business perspective, what I have seen is, for example, the container costs that went up so much. Now, we had a lot of products that came from China, like many other people, and container costs for us went up about 8 times. So it was horrendous. And not only that, but also the time of something arriving from China to the UK was also so much longer. It was awful. And in fact, it brought a lot of companies to its knees. And thankfully, the companies I work with, we weren't on our knees, but it did really affect cash flow badly, and it's quite scary. And that made us look at our systems again and our thinking processes. And we have SAP implemented, but it's only as good as the data you put in. And we were using some parameters that were right 4 years ago, maybe, but are not right anymore now. So the stock, how far stock can get into the warehouse has changed so much. So how much stock you're holding can make or break a business. So it's really about, how are we looking again afresh at the data, about how we're using our processes, how we're using our digital abilities in order not to be logistically challenged and also protecting our margins. So that's a really big one. And Rob is shaking, like I'm really glad that
you are two are talking my world. That's
right. And then the other thing, and that is different, but still part of the same, is that we sell mainly online, although we sell also to retailers who sell in their stores, but we sell online mainly, and we sell a lot on Amazon, and again, the world has changed there. I mean, we are trying to be less dependent on some of the really big players because it's scary, because, things change, because Amazon has had their fair problems as well, and they got rid of quite a lot of people, and the costs have increased. So it's also about, looking around and thinking, okay, how can we mitigate risk? And so we have been really building our own channel more. We sell online, of course, already, but it has become a lot more popular because we're pushing it more and because we are nourishing it more. And we're using it also as a way of talking to our customers because we realize how important that is and be really close to them. So that's also something to look at. I hope that makes sense.
It absolutely makes sense. And thank you for all the contributions on that. I'm happy to say we also have a new question in as well. So thank you. Someone's anonymous, that's fine. You can be anonymous if you like. We still appreciate the question. But how can retail use technology effectively, sorry, I'll start this again. How can retail use technology effectively to ensure future online customer success? Customer success is an interesting term because it could be measured in different ways. But yeah, I'm going to read that question again. How can retail use technology effectively to ensure future online customer success? Who wants to do a fast finger first one and take that one?
So I'll just go very quickly. Other people may want to add something. One of the really, really important things here for me, and it's a word that we've used a little bit before, is, well, there's two bits. One is community. We're growing a community of customers, and the other one is using data to know customers. Now, I think the real thing is here in retail technology is how we can show that we know our customers. So one of the lovely things about going into a store is you walk into a store and someone can say, "Oh, hi, Rob. How was your camping weekend? Did you have a nice time?" And I'm like, "Oh, there were so many images. It was terrible, but the tent was great. Thank you." And online, you don't get that experience automatically or as well. But when you do get snippets of that moment, you tend to think, well, I tend to think is, gosh, I love this. They've remembered me. They know me. They know this, and this, and it makes things easier for me. And what it does is reduces friction. And that might be in terms of helping me find instructions to things I've bought, help me know when I bought it, is it still in warranty, help me know the things that will fit well with what else I might want to try, what I'm interested in, etc., etc. What size mattress did I buy? That I want to buy the sheets for it to be that size, or what else might be in my house that I need. Is knowing the customer is really, really, really important, which is why we launched customer accounts, because that gave a way for us to know the customer and reward people for effectively allowing us to get to know them. And so those two things come together. So that stuff is where I think it's knowing your customer and being able to build a community off the back of it. It's fraught with difficulty, but I think the rewards will be excellent.
Yeah, the personalization aspect is super important now for customers. If you look at brands who are doing email marketing to you, how many of them are personalizing those emails? So there's fashion brands we shop in my household, and I get literally the same email marketing as my wife, and there's one key difference between us, and I don't particularly have the sufficient level of training to buy women's clothes. I wouldn't make the right choices, but so I don't know why all my emails are let out with a huge selection of women's clothing. They pivot their marketing and target based on what they know about the customer. It's going to work a lot better. It's a massive driver for customers is feeling that connection, feeling that they are known and they are not just an anonymous person, and that the reach out and the marketing target towards them is specific to their trends and their interests. If you're marketing from Alpkit and they're sending you climbing gear and you only go camping, or cycling gear and you don't go cycling. It's not going to work. You're not going to feel that connection with the brand. It's that personalization is the big win at the moment in the sector that's being missed by so many companies.
Thanks, Michael. Fred, I'm going to come to you if I can, and go back to that audience member's question, and maybe can you provide some examples of where the use of data, you've seen it really enhance the customer experience as well?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. I think use of data is one of the most effective ways to create a better customer experience. You know, every transactions or interactions, and that can be doing web browsing through the experience you have in store or through the online checkouts. I think it should be seen as an opportunity to gain customer insights, to drive better customer experiences, potentially also amend your sales model if it's not quite right, to reflect customer needs or new needs, and also to provide a more secure service. And that's very important when it comes to payment and the payment world. So I think you can really gather a rich set of data, you know, throughout the whole shopping and payment journey experience. And I think if you combine this with artificial intelligence, then it becomes even more powerful. I've got an example of someone buying an electric car, and it could be myself. I don't have an electric car. I'd love to have one. But if I was to buy an electric car, I wouldn't want to worry about having to recharge the battery, or where I would recharge the battery, whether or not, you know, there'll be a charging station available where I'm traveling, or even where I can stop for a meal or a coffee on the way. So in my customer journey, you know, I want the car to use data information such as battery level, number of miles left to complete the journey, but also my usual habits for taking breaks and food preferences to basically determine where would be the best location and time for the car to be charged. So, you know, you can imagine that the car could reserve the charging point using that data, of course, and potentially even a table at a restaurant or a coffee shop. And when I stop to recharge the battery, I just want to be able to relax, want to enjoy my coffee, my food. The food, by the way, could potentially be paid automatically using a walk-in, walk-out process. I'm sure you've all seen or heard the Amazon Go concept and store, where you just walk in and walk out without actually tapping your card onto a payment device. And when the car is sufficiently charged, you know, I want to receive a notification on my phone or watch. And when I disconnect the car from the charging point, payment for the charging session can automatically be triggered by the car as I restart the journey. So, as I said, I don't have an electric car, but I'd love one, and I'd love to be able to use that customer experience. So that's just one example amongst many others where, you know, the use of data can help provide a more personalized and targeted service.
One of my closest friends has got a Tesla, and is just obsessed with it and has the app and is forever uploading improvements to his car via his app and so on. So yeah, I think he'd definitely be an advocate of an electric car there for you, Fred. We are getting towards the closing part of the webinar, believe it or not. We've spent nearly 50 minutes talking already. It's gone so quickly. We have got a new question in as well. So before we do a sort of a final quickfire round with our panelists, I would like to answer Stuart's question. Thank you, Stuart. So have any of the panel developed a successful method to overcome customer reluctance to share personal data, both on or offline, to enable some of those data-driven positives being discussed? From Stuart, who's the Innovation Director at the Big Group. Thank you very much indeed for that question. So have any of you developed a successful method to overcome customer reluctance to share personal data? Who wants to take that one?
Very quickly, from my point of view, I think it's about communicating. It's about why would you share data? What do you get back in return? I think that's really important. If it's something that's of value, genuine value to you, and if you can explain that very quickly, then there should be no reluctance to do so. Or if there is, then that's fine too. But I think it's really important understanding what you get back if you share data.
I will add my very quick 30 seconds to that, actually, which is the same thing. Where we have had success, and it is hard, where we have had success is where we've been very clear. We want to reward the behavior we want to see. So if we're clear on what the reward is and what the behavior is, and we're asking people to share, then that's where we've had the most success. And it starts with the thought, reward the behavior you want to see.
Yeah, just echo both of those.
Yep.
It's about them having the clear purpose for the data. If it's in their interest to share it, and if they trust you, so trust is super important. If you MattressOnline, we're more of a transactional brand. You come to us when you need something, and you've got a new mattress. Unfortunately, you don't want to come back for a number of years. But if you're building that in some other space, holidays, clothing, pet supplies, everybody absolutely devoted to their pets. That if they trust you and you're helping them with things, then they will be happy to share that, because the reward they get in return is a better service, more personalized, more useful, and helps them show their pets that they love them, basically.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. As avid TRB viewers may know, Scamp, my sometimes co-presenter, is incredibly spoiled, and I wouldn't have it any other way. Okay, final round, guys. I'm going to just go through a quick final round with each of you, and thank you all of you for your time and contributions today. A reminder to our audience, I'm sure I've already mentioned about reaching out to Fred, but I'm sure all of our panel, hopefully give me a nod here, are happy to hear from you via LinkedIn, or we can obviously make connections via the Retail Bulletin as well if you'd like to follow up any further with them. But Fred, just some closing words, please, on some of the things we've been talking about today. And obviously, you've mentioned about tokenization and so on. Any closing words you'd like to leave with our audience?
No, I think there was the earlier question was around, the technology. I think from our perspective, and I always relate to payment because I work in the payments industry, but I think whatever you do, payment-wise or using any other technology, I think it's got to be easy for the consumer to use, easy and convenient. You only have one go, I think. I think if the customer is not happy with the tools or the technology he's using, he's not going to come back. So I think it's really important you get it right the first time, make it easy and convenient, make it secure. Payment needs to be secure and available. It's got to be available anywhere and anytime. So these are the key things for me when it comes to payment and using that technology online and creating a better customer experience.
Thank you, sir, and great wise closing words. Thank you for your contribution today, and for obviously Worldline's ongoing support as well. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Rob, I'm going to come to you and just ask you to tell us a few things we should all be thinking about over the next 6 to 12 months.
Well, I will actually just say that the one thing that we're thinking about a lot is community, how to build our communities, and how to help our communities build us as a business, and they're part of that. In thinking about credibility and trust and all that stuff, I just wanted to say one thing, which is, as we talk about technology and the impact technology has in our growth and in providing good experiences, the one thing that I always think is really, really important to remember is that technology and data has a limit without our input and our expertise. And as people who run businesses, we have expertise in different areas, and we need to know when to step in to use that expertise in the customer experience. Quick example, if we went for data-driven approach on our "you might also like to buy" prompts, people who buy waterproofs would currently be suggested that they buy a bivy bag, and that's because our bivy bags are such a good best-selling item. Clearly that's wrong. So it's knowing when to step in and look at the data and think that's not right, let's use our expertise instead, take the human element and make that work for us.
What's a billy bag?
Bivy bag. A bivy bag is like a big old, it's like a tent without any poles that is sleeping bag shaped, and you put it over your sleeping bag, put it around you, and just lie on a hill somewhere and enjoy looking at the stars.
There you go. Just, every day is an education. I always say this. So there you go. You heard
try it.
Rob.
It's amazing.
Rob, thank you. So actually, I have to know, I'm the biggest wuss when it comes to camping. I've tried it so many times, and I'm always moaning about how uncomfortable I am. So maybe I will give that a go. Thank you for your energy and your contribution today. It's been really great to have you with us.
Thank you.
Gracia, some closing words from you, and share maybe some closing nuggets around any change of tack that you've had to make to adapt, with all of the backdrop of changing macroeconomics and so on. Give us some top tips on changing tack and any examples that you might have.
Yeah. I think, we talked about agility, very important, lifting your head above the parapet and just really see what's going on. If there are big changes macroeconomically, then maybe you need to look at how that affects your business and be quite agile about it. So, for example, if you've had a warehouse for 30 years because that's the way your business works, because that was the best way of doing it, maybe that's not anymore the right thing to do, because there are third-party people that can do that better and cheaper, and you can better use your people to focus on different elements of the business, on innovation or data collection, of all of that. So it can actually be a very big change. I do work with companies where we have had warehouse for 30 years, and I'm questioning, do we still need it? Should we not have a very modern office with less, like product, but more looking at our consumer and really looking what they need instead of trying to do everything? So yeah, I've been looking at a whole business model. It's a bit scary maybe, but if you have the time and the luxury in a way to question these really big things, you should do once in a while. We do it once a year, but we also have a risk register. I'm very keen on the risk register. Every time I'm chairing one of the meetings, I try to get back to the risk register, say like, what's going on out there? What has changed? Where are we going to fall down if we carry on like this? Very important. So yeah, I would say, like, think about the risk register, think about what's going on outside that can affect your business. Think differently. Give yourself some time sometimes just to break maybe some rules and look at it from a different perspective.
Thank you, Gracia, and as always for your time on the panel with Retail Bulletin. We always love having you, and everyone's rushing off to check out that app that you talked about earlier as well. But yeah, thank you very much for having us. Michael, it's coming down to you for the closing words, sir. Lots of people on here will be looking to evolve some of the technology that they use and improve and update. How important is it to understand when evolving the technology, of what you use, what you do, how you prioritize? Give us some closing nuggets.
Yeah, this is an interesting one. I've been talking to a few people recently, some of the agencies that we work with, talking to them about their clients and so on. And I think there's always a search for a silver bullet. A technical solution, a platform that is going to enable you to do everything, and there are no silver bullets. There is nothing that is going to be perfect for you unless you build it yourself, and then the downside is you have to build it yourself, and therefore you can only build so much as you go. So you need to understand the pros and cons of what you're getting into. What I generally find is that for every problem that a new solution solves, it could unsolve another solution. So it's understanding what your requirements are, what your unknown requirements are, because you just take it for granted in the tech stack that you're using, and making sure that you can swap things in and out and evolve, because there are, I think I love Rob's analogy of the start of a triathlon with the churning in the water. That's very much what e-commerce is like, isn't it? It's just a flat out change everywhere, and seeing the amount of change that's going on everywhere and thinking you've got to do all of that at once is scary. But focusing down on the little things you can do and being able to swap them out, change your payment provider to one that offers you the flexibility that you need. You can't swap that out with what you're using, and something innovative comes along that's going to make a difference. It's going to go in the way that your consumers are going. You've got a big problem. So it's having someone in-house who has enough technical skills and knowledge to be able to enable that to work. Whether that's with an in-house team or an outsourced team doing the development, you need someone in-house who is a core part of your business, who can make sure you're doing the right stuff. We've worked with in-house dev teams before, and developers often want to use the shiny new solution, but they'll be focused on the shiny new solution, not on the bigger picture of the deliverability a lot of the time. So you need that control in-house of understanding how we make sure fundamentally this stuff works, and we're not going to get that shiny new thing at the cost of something that wasn't shiny but turned out to be the thing that keeps the lights on.
Michael, that's the perfect wrap. I mean, literally with a minute to spare, we could not have planned it better. Almost looks like we rehearsed this as well. So congratulations to an amazing panel. Thank you again to Fred and Rob, and to Gracia and Michael. You've all been fantastic. If you did come into this halfway and you've missed a bit, don't worry. You can catch up with all the recordings, which will be published later on. Don't forget to get in touch with our speakers if you want to talk to them more. We're back in 30 minutes. session 3, our last session of the day, achieving a seamless omnichannel customer journey. But for now, again, thank you to Fred and team at Worldline, Rob, Gracia, and Michael. You've been brilliant. See you all in half an hour. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Bye.